That burger, salad, or seafood platter you're about to enjoy, it could contain bacteria linked to kidney failure, ingredients from supply chains that have failed repeatedly, and food handled under conditions that would make you think twice about ordering. I spent weeks investigating popular restaurant chains across the country. What I found will make you pause before your next reservation. Some of these well-known names are linked to repeated outbreaks, contamination events, and kitchen practices that don't match their marketing. They keep drawing customers with familiar logos and convenient locations, while the health department reports tell a different story. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to reveal exactly which 12 restaurant chains have the worst track records, the ones with documented contamination histories, the most concerning kitchen practices, and the biggest gaps between image and reality. By the end, you'll know exactly which restaurants to think twice about and where you should actually be eating instead. Chuck E. Cheese, the birthday party destination, the place where kids run free, play arcade games, and eat pizza while parents finally get to sit down. Chuck E. Cheese looks like everything family entertainment should be. Then you consider what's happening in the kitchen. Multiple outbreaks over the years have been traced to restaurants like this. Salmonella, norovirus, the kinds of illnesses that spread fast in crowded environments. In documented cases, children who attended parties were exposed because infected food handlers worked while sick. Here's what most parents don't think about. The environment is chaotic by design. Employees are cooking, cleaning, restocking prizes, and serving dozens of kids at birthday parties simultaneously. The pressure is constant. One lapse, hands not washed properly, utensils cross-contaminated, food left out too long, and illness spreads quickly. Pizza in these settings often comes from large, pre-made batches. Dough sits before baking. Toppings are portioned by hand, quickly, under time pressure. Sauce and cheese handled repeatedly throughout each shift. For a healthy adult, exposure might mean a stomach ache. For kids, for grandparents visiting for a birthday, for anyone with a weaker immune system, that same exposure can turn into days of vomiting, dehydration, or worse. And then there are the surfaces. Every arcade button, every table, every ball pit ball, touched by hundreds of hands throughout the day. Cleaning happens between parties, but realistically, it's rushed. Germs multiply faster than staff can wipe them down. The combination of mass-prepared food, high-touch surfaces, and a bustling environment makes Chuck E. Cheese a place where illness risk is higher than most parents realize. Fun for the kids, a hygiene gamble for everyone. Have you thrown a birthday party there thinking it was the easy, safe choice? The kitchen reality might surprise you. Subway, the fresh sandwich shop, the place where you watch them make your food right in front of you. Subway built its brand on being healthier than typical fast food. Then the questions started piling up. The tuna controversy made headlines when customers and journalists ran DNA tests and couldn't conclusively identify the tuna as tuna. Lawsuits followed. Courts dismissed some claims, but the episode raised a simple question. How confident are you in processed, mass-produced sandwich fillings? But here's the bigger concern. Every ingredient in that sandwich has been handled multiple times before it reaches you. That bread, baked from frozen dough shipped from processing facilities. Those vegetables, pre-sliced, pre-packaged, sitting in containers. Those processed meats, touched, stacked, and handled by every worker on every shift. Ready-to-eat sandwiches are one of the higher-risk categories for foodborne illness. There's no cooking step at the end, no heat to kill bacteria. Whatever contamination enters the supply chain rides straight into your meal. Subway operates thousands of locations with a vast network of suppliers. When contamination happens somewhere in that system, and it does, the product has often spread widely before anyone notices the problem. You're watching them assemble your sandwich. You're not seeing where those ingredients came from. You're not seeing who handled them yesterday or the week before or at the processing facility 3 states away. For seniors, for children, for anyone with a compromised immune system, a contaminated cold sandwich isn't a minor inconvenience. It can mean serious illness. The fresh image, the complex supply chain you never see. If you choose Subway, favor cooked fillings over cold processed ones when you can. Red Lobster, the seafood celebration, the Cheddar Bay biscuits, the place where families go for special occasions, and endless shrimp promotions. Seafood is delicious, and it's fragile. Red Lobster has been connected to multiple food safety incidents over the years. Outbreaks traced to contaminated produce served in salads, concerns with shellfish handling, and the inherent risks that come with serving seafood at scale. Here's what makes seafood different. It spoils fast. It harbors bacteria that thrive when temperatures aren't controlled precisely. One gap in the cold chain, from boat to distributor to restaurant kitchen, and you're eating contaminated product that looks and smells perfectly fine. Shellfish and raw bar items are particularly risky. The symptoms aren't just discomfort. We're talking severe vomiting, dangerous dehydration, bacterial infections that sometimes require antibiotics and hospitalization. Red Lobster serves millions of customers every week. That volume means if contaminated product enters their system, it moves through many locations quickly. By the time the first customers report illness, many more have already been exposed. For seniors, for anyone with liver conditions, for pregnant women who thought a nice seafood dinner was a safe celebration choice. Watch the kitchen, not just the dining room ambiance. If you're ordering raw bar items or chilled seafood, pay attention to how staff handle and plate it. KFC, the Colonel's recipe, the bucket of fried chicken, the brand that's been feeding families for generations. Then the contamination cases started making news. In Australia, a child suffered severe brain damage after a salmonella infection traced to KFC food handling. The case ended in legal action, with damages awarded. A family's life changed forever. This wasn't the only incident. Inspections at various KFC locations have documented cross-contamination between raw and cooked chicken, improper holding temperatures, and employee hygiene failures. These aren't abstract regulatory concerns. They're documented issues that directly affect the food reaching customers. Here's the challenge with high-volume fried chicken operations: complex battering steps, multiple handling stages, holding times that stretch depending on how busy the restaurant gets. A single contaminated batch can expose many customers before anyone realizes something is wrong. When reports surface about foreign objects in food, equipment issues, or supplier problems, they matter because they reveal oversight gaps. KFC's scale means small problems can quickly become big ones. For seniors, for children, for anyone with chronic health conditions, undercooked or improperly handled chicken isn't just unappetizing, it can be genuinely dangerous. If you see poor cleanliness at a location, trust your instincts and leave. If a piece of chicken seems undercooked or has been sitting too long, don't eat it. Papa John's, the delivery favorite, the late-night pizza, the convenient order that arrives hot at your door. Then hepatitis showed up at a location. In 2014, a Papa John's in Charlotte was linked to a hepatitis A exposure that triggered class action lawsuits and a major public health response. Hundreds of customers were potentially exposed during the infection window. Hepatitis A isn't food poisoning. You shake off in a couple of days. It attacks the liver. It can hospitalize older adults. It can seriously harm anyone with chronic liver disease. Symptoms can last for months. Here's how it happens. An infected food handler touches ready-to-eat items without proper hand hygiene. Dough, toppings, utensils, cutting boards. The virus spreads invisibly across everything that ends up on your pizza. With delivery and takeout, you never see it. You never know. One sick worker handling ingredients can expose hundreds of customers before symptoms appear because hepatitis A has an incubation period of weeks. The lesson is practical. Employee health policies matter. Sick leave policies matter. Whether workers can afford to stay home when they're ill matters. For families ordering pizza for movie night. For seniors getting delivery because it's convenient. These aren't abstract concerns. If you ever suspect you've been exposed to a hepatitis A incident, contact local health services. There's a window where post-exposure treatment can prevent disease. Wendy's, the square patties, the fresh, never frozen promise, the drive-thru you've probably been visiting for years. In 2022, multiple states reported E. coli illnesses connected to romaine lettuce served in Wendy's sandwiches and salads. Health departments and the CDC investigated. People were hospitalized. Not bad meat, not undercooked beef. Lettuce. Wendy's pulled romaine from affected restaurants while investigators traced the contamination. That was the right immediate response. But by then, the product had already reached customers across multiple states. Here's the reality of fast food supply chains. Chains like Wendy's buy lettuce through massive distribution networks. One contaminated harvest can supply hundreds of stores. By the time customers start getting sick and reporting it, the product has moved everywhere. E. coli. O157 isn't a mild stomachache. It can cause bloody diarrhea, severe dehydration, and hemolytic uremic syndrome, kidney failure. For seniors, children, and people with existing health conditions, infection can mean hospitalization or permanent damage. During known leafy green outbreaks, consider skipping raw lettuce on your order. Ask for it without the greens, or choose cooked toppings instead. It's a small adjustment that avoids a significant risk. Fresh, never frozen doesn't mean contamination-free. Panera Bread, the clean cafe, the soup in a bread bowl, the place that feels healthier than typical fast food. Panera built its brand on being a better choice. In 2018, that image took a hit. A major E. coli outbreak sickened hundreds across dozens of states. Investigators traced many cases back to romaine lettuce served at Panera and other chains. People were hospitalized. Some developed kidney failure. This wasn't a mild stomach bug. It was a dangerous strain with serious consequences. Here's what many Panera customers don't consider. Salads are raw. Greens are uncooked. There's no heat step to kill bacteria. If E. coli enters the supply chain at the farm, the processing facility, or during distribution, it reaches your plate exactly as dangerous as it started. Washing doesn't eliminate it. Refrigeration doesn't kill it. Panera didn't grow the lettuce. They purchased it from suppliers like every other chain. But that's exactly the point. When you trust a restaurant, you're trusting their supply chain, their vetting process, how quickly they can identify and pull suspect product. In 2018, that system wasn't fast enough to prevent hundreds of illnesses. Lawsuits followed. Panera eventually tightened procedures, but the outbreak revealed how fragile these systems can be when contamination happens early in the supply chain. For seniors who chose Panera because it felt healthier. For parents who bought salads thinking vegetables were the responsible choice. That romaine wasn't as safe as it looked. During active outbreaks, choose cooked options or ask about sourcing. The polished cafe environment doesn't guarantee safe produce. Olive Garden, the endless breadsticks, the bottomless pasta, the Italian family experience America has loved for decades. Olive Garden has been linked to norovirus outbreaks affecting hundreds of customers at a time. Not food spoilage. Norovirus, the highly contagious virus that spreads through infected workers and the surfaces they touch. One sick employee working through a shift can expose an entire dining room. Here's what many customers don't realize about Olive Garden's kitchen. Most of the food arrives partially cooked or pre-portioned. Pasta is measured exactly. Sauces are pre-made and shipped to locations. Proteins come vacuum-sealed and get reheated before service. This approach handles high volume efficiently, but it means fresh is relative. During peak hours, staff focus on keeping food at proper temperatures while matching the pace of orders. Health inspections have occasionally noted improper storage, raw meat near cooked proteins, and potential cross-contamination issues. Even items that seem fresh like soups and salads are often assembled from reheated or pre-prepared components. The breadsticks? The one thing baked on site from frozen dough. Olive Garden delivers consistency across locations. That consistency comes from controlled off-site preparation and reheating. For diners who assume everything is made from scratch in the kitchen, this might be surprising. It doesn't necessarily make the food unsafe, but it highlights that the cozy Italian atmosphere and the industrial kitchen reality are different things. Chipotle. Fresh ingredients. Made to order. Right in front of you. Chipotle built its brand on transparency and quality that set it apart from typical fast food. That's exactly why the outbreaks were so jarring. 2015 was the major year. Multiple E. coli and norovirus cases across states. Customers who trusted fresh ended up in hospitals. Hundreds sick. The incidents weren't isolated. They revealed systemic gaps. Here's the challenge Chipotle faces. Their supply chain is large, and they emphasize fresh produce across thousands of locations. When control slips somewhere in that system, contamination can spread quickly and widely. Fresh, uncooked ingredients, the core of their menu, don't have a cooking step to kill bacteria. Chipotle responded by closing stores, revising procedures, and implementing new safety protocols. But the fundamental math doesn't change. Fresh produce across dozens of states increases the risk of widespread illness when something goes wrong. Even today, despite new policies, the risk from fresh, uncooked ingredients remains higher than from cooked foods. For immunocompromised individuals, seniors, and young children, this matters. It's not fear-mongering, it's awareness. When a restaurant appears repeatedly in outbreak reports, it indicates gaps in preventive measures that weren't fully closed. Fresh doesn't automatically equal safe, especially with produce that's eaten raw. Were you surprised by Chipotle's outbreak history? It's worth knowing before you order. Applebee's, the neighborhood grill, the casual spot with booth seating and familiar comfort food. Applebee's projects a sense of relaxed, approachable dining. Behind the scenes, much of the menu comes from frozen or pre-portioned ingredients. Chicken, shrimp, and burgers often arrive pre-cooked and get reheated on the grill. Side dishes are made in bulk and kept under heat lamps until ordered. That sizzling skillet presentation? Often more about reheating than fresh cooking. Former staff describe busy shifts as a balancing act, trying to maintain maintain food quality and temperature while keeping up with orders. Mistakes happen under that pressure. Health inspections have occasionally flagged temperature control issues, staff hygiene concerns, and cross-contamination risks. The dining room looks polished and welcoming. The kitchen operates under efficiency pressures that affect preparation practices. Those salad bars, staff describe inconsistent maintenance depending on the shift. Greens that should have been rotated hours ago. For diners who assume a sit-down restaurant automatically means better quality than fast food, Applebee's demonstrates that the distinction isn't always clear. The format looks different, but many of the same supply chain and preparation practices apply. The neighborhood atmosphere, the reheated reality, TGI, Fridays, the neon lights, the happy hour specials, the casual Friday atmosphere any day of the week. TGI. Fridays sells fun, energy, and comfort food. Most of the menu starts in a freezer. Chicken, vegetables, peppers, sauces, shipped frozen from processing facilities. Appetizers like loaded potato skins are assembled from pre-made components. Spinach artichoke dip gets microwaved in plastic containers before reaching your table. These signature sauces are pre-made and identical across every location. Former staff describe busy nights as a constant rush, assembling plates from partially thawed ingredients while keeping pace with orders. That pressure can lead to shortcuts or errors, particularly around temperature control. Health inspections have noted concerns over the years. Ice machines with mold, staff handling food without proper protection, cross-contamination between prep areas. The restaurant creates an atmosphere of casual, fun dining. The kitchen reality is focused on speed and efficiency rather than fresh preparation. Food is plated to look appealing, but much of it was processed and frozen long before it reached the restaurant. For customers who think they're getting a step above fast food, TGI Fridays operates on many of the same principles. Industrial supply chain, pre-made components, reheating rather than cooking, the Friday feeling, the factory preparation. Teavana, Starbucks tea. Wait, isn't this a restaurant list? Here's why Starbucks tea deserves a spot. When Starbucks paid $620 million to acquire Teavana, they bought a brand that had already been tested by independent labs. The results weren't good. 100% of samples contained pesticides. One blend, monkey-picked oolong, had 23 different pesticides in a single product, something customers paid premium prices for. Marketed as pure and natural, 77% of Teavana teas would have failed European Union import standards. Too toxic to sell in Europe, but perfectly legal in American stores. 62% contained endosulfan, a pesticide banned in the United States, China, the European Union, and 144 countries worldwide. It destroys fertility, damages developing babies, and poisons agricultural workers. Starbucks closed all 379 Teavana retail stores in 2017. But Teavana tea didn't disappear. That iced passion tea you order at Starbucks in summer? Teavana. Those tea lattes on the menu? Teavana. The stores closed. The tea kept flowing. For wellness-minded customers who order tea at Starbucks thinking it's a healthier choice, the testing history tells a different story. The premium branding, the pesticide reality, 12 restaurants and chains exposed. From Chuck E. Cheese's chaotic kitchen environment to Subway's complex supply chain. From Red Lobster's seafood handling risks to KFC's documented contamination cases. From Papa John's hepatitis exposure to Wendy's E. coli lettuce. From Panera's outbreak that hospitalized hundreds to Olive Garden's norovirus spread in assembly line kitchen. From Chipotle's repeated systemic failures to Applebee's reheated reality. From TGI Friday's frozen-to-table preparation to Starbucks still serving Teavana tea. That's what's behind the logos. That's what the marketing doesn't mention. But don't give up on eating out entirely. 3 options prove it's still possible to find better choices. Real food, careful sourcing, actual standards. Safe. Pick 1. Life Kitchen. Finally, a restaurant that doesn't treat your health as an afterthought. LYFE Kitchen was built around a different philosophy. What if a restaurant actually prioritized what goes into your body? No artificial ingredients. No heavily processed foods, no mystery supply chains shipping frozen components across the country. Just actual food, sourced responsibly, prepared with transparency. Every ingredient is traceable. Local sourcing whenever possible. Menus that tell you exactly what you're eating. No hidden additives, no chemical preservatives, no vague natural flavors. The operation is smaller than the mega chains, and that matters. Smaller scale means tighter control, fewer suppliers, shorter supply chains. When something goes wrong in a massive system, it affects millions before anyone notices. Life Kitchen's model reduces that risk by design. It costs slightly more than fast food. You're not paying extra for marketing. You're paying for food handled more carefully through a shorter, more transparent chain. For families who want to reduce the gamble, for seniors who deserve better than the chains we just exposed, Life Kitchen shows it's possible to eat out without the same level of risk. Real ingredients, smaller scale, actual transparency. Safe pick 2, just salad. Not everyone wants a complicated meal. Some people just want greens they can trust. Just Salad's model is built around transparency. You see everything. Visible prep, clear ingredients, direct control over what goes in your bowl. No mystery sauces shipped from distant processing facilities. No pre-made components sitting around for days. House-made dressings, fresh produce, customization that lets you avoid anything you're uncertain about. For people sensitive to foodborne illness, this visibility matters. When you can see every ingredient and ask where things came from, you can make informed choices. That's different from trusting a logo and hoping for the best. The standard risks, produce handling, basic cross-contamination, exist everywhere food is served. But Just Salad's transparent approach eliminates the hidden layers. No ultra-processed mystery proteins. No supply chains so complex that contamination spreads undetected. For health-conscious diners, for people feeding elderly family members, for anyone tired of trusting brands over their own eyes, Just Salad lets you see the food before you eat it. That simple transparency beats every marketing promise the big chains make. Safe. Pick 3. Legal seafoods. Seafood is risky by nature, which makes Legal Seafood's track record over decades even more notable. The chain has prioritized safety in a category where carelessness can seriously harm people. They eliminated trans fats years before most chains considered it. They publish nutritional information, allergen alerts, and clear menu descriptions. They emphasize sourcing standards, temperature control, and preparation consistency, because with seafood, there's no margin for error. The difference is in the approach. Large chains optimize for speed and cost. Legal Seafoods has consistently optimized for handling a fragile, risky product safely. Fresh seafood prepared to proper temperatures. Traceability that actually functions. Operational consistency across locations built through investment in standards rather than just marketing. No restaurant is 100% risk-free, but the combination of careful sourcing, temperature discipline, and consistent practices at Legal Seafoods creates meaningfully lower risk than chains focused primarily on volume. For families who want seafood without the gamble. For seniors who can't afford a foodborne illness. For anyone who understands that reputation should be earned through practices, not advertising. Legal Seafoods has spent decades demonstrating that safe dining isn't impossible. It just takes commitment. 3 restaurants, 3 different approaches, all proving that better options exist if you know where to look. 12 chains exposed, 3 safer alternatives identified. Now you know which places deserve more scrutiny, which familiar names have histories worth knowing about, which family favorites might not be as safe as their marketing suggests. Go check your delivery apps. Think twice about your regular rotation. Your next meal deserves more consideration than just convenience. Drop a comment with the last chain restaurant you ate at. Let's see how many of us have been dining at these places without knowing their track records. If this helped you make smarter choices, hit that like button and subscribe for more guides like this. More deep dives coming. Hidden industry practices, food safety realities, everything you need to make better decisions. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, ask questions, and choose carefully.